Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is the Creative Collaboration Show. Chuck Anderson here as your host, and this is the show where we serve you, whether you are a solopreneur, a coach, an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever you call yourself. One thing that we have unique with our audience is that they're all on a big mission to make a big positive impact in the world with their products, their services, and really sharing their gift with the world. And today's episode is going to be all about sharing that gift with the world. Today I have Sean Stewart, rockyourgift.com with me today, and we're going to be talking about having that one signature presentation that you are known for and really helps to hone in your message and get out there on stages and spread your message in a big, big way. That is exactly what Sean helps people to do, and we're going to dive deep into that topic today. Sean, welcome. I know this has been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I'm so happy to get the chance to connect with you.
Yeah, it's about time. I know we've been going back and forth, and we've been wanting to do this for a while, but it's good that we're finally here. So, well, I think a good starting point, Sean, is tell everybody a little bit about you and specifically what you're doing now, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I've been coaching entrepreneurs for 15 years now, helping them to attract more high ticket clients from speaking and events. And I have a background actually as a performer and a rapper, spoken word artist. I got into the industry coming off the heels of really my music career. And I had that experience. And I was at that point when I came into the game, I was studying people like Tony Robbins, Brendon Burchard, and I got right into it. I started working with one-on-one clients. I got trained by Tony, and it was a beautiful thing in 2010 to jump into learning the coaching industry and starting to work with clients. But at a certain point, I noticed a sense of heaviness that I felt around these calls with clients, and I couldn't figure out what it was for a while until I realized that the reason I felt that heaviness was because I wasn't being my authentic self. I was actually trying to be like Tony and like the mentors that I'd looked up to. In fact, one of the things that Tony Robbins says is that, you want to model your mentors and that, success leaves clues. So model those who have come before you. And I absolutely love that. It's a very important principle. However, there came a point in my career where I needed to be more me and not somebody else. And I realized because of my background as a rapper and artist, that part of me was being hidden. And I was only showing a part of me that I thought was respectable. I was in more of a buttoned up suit. I was trying to look the part. And so I was pretending to be somebody because I thought that's what my clients would respect or pay me for. And I made a decision in 2017 to bring out my creative gifts inside of my business. And I launched my brand called Rock Your Gift. And that was a really big breakthrough for me because I took a stand for something that I didn't really have any modeling to give me that decision. Everybody said, oh, when you bring your artistry into your business, it's all about you. And so I thought it was selfish. I thought that it was not going to be acceptable. And what I found instead was that it not only brought me a lot to life, it clarified my messaging, and it also started to attract a much more high caliber and aligned client, and my visibility just exploded. So that's really where I started to see that I kind of keyed in on something, and then my career sort of skyrocketed from that point forward.
I love everything about what you just said there, and in some ways lived the same story, yeah. Except instead of Tony Robbins, it was T. Harv Eker. And again, the same thing, success leaves clues, model success. And so here I am trying to act and behave just like him. And so I'm with you. It doesn't feel authentic. And I've had a lot of conversations with people too that again, that when you're trying to be like someone else, there's something misaligned about it. Yeah. So great origin story. And so now that leads, so tell me a little bit about the work that you're doing now with people with what you're really helping them to do, and what are you noticing in terms of the struggle that they are experiencing?
Yeah, so my clients are coaches, they're entrepreneurs, they're either speakers or aspiring speakers, course creators, and they are a lot of times really wanting to be on stages more. And they just know it. They just feel it. They've always felt it, but they're getting into that place where it's like it's time to rock those stages. And so I am helping them to get on those stages, whether helping them to book speaking gigs or to host their own events. and learning the power of the presentation that we teach. It's called the Soul Signature Talk, and getting them to become more confident in how they deliver that talk, and then teaching them specifically how to convert from stage. So how to make an offer that's anywhere from $97 to, $30,000 directly from stage. And, the thing that I see with people is that, A, they don't really know how to get stages. They feel like it's something they should be doing, but they don't know how, and they're kind of stuck. I see a lot of people nowadays with the post-COVID era. Everyone thinks that the only way to get clients is through social media, Facebook ads, like all these online things. And I do those things. Those things are amazing. It's great to be able to create a business from home. Like actually I do, my clients do. But, you don't realize how blue ocean speaking is in a lot of ways. I mean, there's a lot of speakers out there, but it's really pretty untapped compared to all the red ocean, all the competition inside of the online marketing stuff. And so I show them that it's a lot more accessible than they realize, speaking, whether that's virtual speaking like we're doing here or actually getting on live stages. And then I also help them with the thing they're challenged with is they don't know what to talk about. They don't know what they should share. They don't know which story is a story to talk about, and they just in their head about the presentation. And so we just have a very streamlined process to get them to clarify that and to create the talk that becomes the primary revenue generator or sales mechanism in their business that they can use in a variety of formats, whether that is, doing a 90-minute presentation or doing a short presentation like on a Zoom call like we're doing here, or doing like a panel, any level of time frame, you can condense it or expand it to work within, but you get that core presentation defined and everything starts to flow from.
There's, speaking of coaches and their presentations, I've had recently conversations with people who, they're bouncing around from one webinar to another or writing this presentation or that presentation. It seems like every time I'm talking to them, they're writing something new. And in the green room, you and I were talking about that advantage of having that one signature talk, that one that you know really well or you're known for or whatever. Can you talk a little bit about the advantages of how do we get away from this mode? And I'm guilty of it myself, of always writing a new presentation versus just really honing this into one primary signature talk.
Yeah, it really, to me, it comes down to, especially when we're talking to coaches who have an offer, who have a program, right? Well, if we're talking about people who want to do keynotes, it's a totally different situation. And I'll talk briefly about that in a moment. But when we're looking at people who are in business to work with clients, whether that's in a group, courses, one-on-one, etc., the way to get to what is that core presentation is to ask yourself, what is my core offer? And that's something that I find people are really misaligned in. So the very first thing that we're doing with the people that we work with is helping them to clarify what we call profit center offer. There's all this competition or back and forth in the industry around, should I do a low ticket? Should I do a high ticket? And people who are not that, as experienced as us in the game, are confused about which direction. They watch a webinar and they go, I should do a membership or I should do a low ticket. And then they watch somebody else and I should do high ticket. I don't know which one to do. The thing is, it's not about either or. Both of them, all of them actually should be in play. It's just that the question is which one first. And so the sequence is what I help my clients with. And the first thing that you want, especially if you want to get to six figures or multiple six figures or whatever the next goal is, right, that you want to hit, you want to make sure you have an offer that is going to be high ticket as your primary, because then you have the revenue coming in with not as much marketing needed, not as many sales calls needed, right? You don't have to do that much. You just need to close a few of those high ticket clients consistently. And then you can start to open up maybe other revenue streams like low ticket where the people now are going to ascend into that. That's the first thing that I work with my clients on, is getting them clear on, okay, I got to create this profit center offer. This offer generally, in the best way I like to look at it, it's a group program because we want to leverage our time, and it's a high ticket group. So a lot of people think of group as these cohorts and they're going to charge somewhere between 500 to 2,000. I'm not talking about that model at all. I'm talking about a rolling enrollment group that's always happening for the business owner. It's always a Tuesday. And for the people who are the people coming in, it's happening as a, let's say, 90-day or 6-month time frame, and the people cycle in and out. And so there's people at different phases in the program, but everybody's there showing up on Tuesday at X time. And this is your profit center offer. It's not the mastermind. It's not the 12-month super high ticket. And it's not the, one-on-one customization. It's the group program that allows you to generate, let's say, 5K or more for it per customer, and create that profit center that's leveraged. So that's the first thing we want to help our clients with, is define what's that core offer. And once we know that, because you think about it, it's like an on-ramp or just smoothing a track to something, right? So like our goal in business is to generate money, is to generate profit, and to generate clients, right? And so the first thing I want to ask is, okay, what's the core offer that we're going to do that with? Okay, define that core offer. Now we're going to design our soul signature talk, our primary talk, around that core offer, and everything's going to line up because now we know where things are leading to. We're trying to get as many people as possible to opt in for our core offer, to book a call with us, etc. And so we're going to now build a talk that leads people to desire that thing. And so even our origin story in our soul signature talk is the story that the people who are your ideal prospects, they're going through. Even though it's positioned as your story, it's actually the story that they're going through. Like, you went through it and you overcame it. That's your story. But they're in the midst of that. And then they're going to see themselves in that story. And it's going to connect to your teaching points in your presentation, so that it's one through line that by the time they're complete with that presentation, they actually feel like they know what their next step is. And it's clearly your program or offer. So it's just this smooth track, and it all starts with your offer clarity.
There's so much to unpack there. And I think and we won't go too deep in it, but I think just with what you said there with the program that's, it's evergreen, it's happening every week. You've got some people joining, you've got some people leaving. And that's something that we changed in our business about 2 years ago. And, I keep referring to these decisions as the best. It seems like every decision we made was the best decision we ever made, but it avoided that whole thing about cohorts. I mean, when you're talking to the person who is starting a brand new program, and it's like, oh, I want this program to start 4 weeks from now with a minimum of 20 people in it, and it's going to go for 8 weeks. That's really hard to do, versus create the program structure where every week you can be onboarding people, you can be working with people who are midstream. Some people are coming to the end of their time, but to have that structure. So you're always selling. That's one thing I heard Brendan Burchard say. It's like, why would I do launches where I'm going to close the cart and then not sell this again until the next time? Like, I always want to be selling. Yeah. So, and then what I really heard you say in terms of our theme here about the presentation is you're working backwards, like really deciding what your offer is first before approaching your presentation. And I've talked to countless people where it's like, hey, can you take a look at my webinar for me and tell me what should I offer at the end of this? And, that's exactly backwards. You don't write the webinar and then figure out what you're going to sell. You figure out what you're going to sell and then write the presentation that fits it.
Yeah. And it's amazing what happens when you do it the right way. And when you combine the story the right way, and you tell that story the right way, and the way that emotionally connects with people, and the way that you layer in the correct case studies or testimonials inside of each teaching point to kind of bolster the point. And the way that all of that is what's happening. So many things are happening when you do that right? You've got social proof, you've got credibility, right? You've got authenticity because you talk about your story and how you hit the depths. You've got the shifting of beliefs so that the person no longer feels like the thing that was in the way when they came to that presentation is in the way, and they feel like it's possible for them to do the thing that you teach. And then you also are creating the important distinction between, really how-to content, which is going deep, and what some people could call what content, which is, more overview content. But I like to look at it like it's really about inspirational content. Like, our goal in a presentation is not to teach. And that's a big misnomer, and it sounds like we're withholding information when I say that, like, oh, okay, so we're just trying to sell. No, what we're trying to do is not weigh people down with information, because as much as it might seem like that's of service to them, and that's how we're wired to think, if we give a lot of great content, meaning the same content that we would give in our ongoing programs that people pay us for, then we're really doing a service to this person in front of us. And that's absolutely wrong. The reason that doesn't work is because A, that person's not even committed to the thing that you're talking about yet. So, anybody who's been in the game and done any kind of, entrepreneurship or selling or anything, if somebody doesn't pay for it, they're fair weather friend with what you're talking about. They might say, oh, I'm really like lit up by this. But the second that workshop or webinar or talk is over, they're on to the next shiny object because there was no skin in the game. So trying to give them the same content that you would give your paid clients, they're not paid clients. They're not committed. And number two, it actually is overwhelming to them because it's too much information. So you could break down exactly how XYZ, whatever, pick a topic for you. It's like how to do JV partners or how to do affiliates. You could break down like every piece of that step or those steps. Hey, are they going to do it? Are they even going to remember it? Is it going to be a bunch of notes that they never go back to? Yes, it's going to be a bunch of notes they never go back to. It's going to be something they don't remember. But the worst part of it is that they feel full, like literally like they had a big meal. And what do we want to do? Do we want to actually take some major action after we're full from a big meal? Like, no, we want to go home and sleep. And that's what people do. They put their prospects to sleep and they make their prospects full. And so there's no chance that your conversions are going to be high, even though you thought you did them a service. And so the solution instead is to think about, okay, how do I teach content that is basically going to have the context of the teaching point? So for instance, let's say it's in your world, right? And you're teaching people how to do affiliates and you're teaching people the JV thing. And the teaching point is, how to book calls with JV partners or whatever. Like we're going to be inside that context. Like I'm going to teach you right now how to book calls with JV partners, but I'm not actually going to go into the how-to on that. I'm actually going to use the content now to help you shift out of your beliefs that say it's hard to book calls with JV partners, that I can't find JV partners. And all my content is going to be built around that shift and not around delivering, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. And a lot of people, my clients do it and I fix it for them, is that they go directly into that how-to. And I'm like, whoa. You're overwhelming me. You think it's of service. It's actually not. And I'm glazed over. Let's pull it back a second and get these people to have an aha moment and to actually be like on track with not just how to do something, but why it's so important for them to finally commit to doing something, which is the real purpose of your presentation.
Yeah, I think that you touch on something where so many people get it wrong. And I know I did this for way too long, where you give too much information, too many how-tos. And at the end, I think this is where I know I got it wrong, is if people attend the presentation and at the end they go, wow, that was a really good presentation. I learned a lot. Thank you. And then they leave.
Right.
Like there's no.
I loved it. It was the best thing I ever
Yeah,
heard.
the great presentation. And they're being nice, and they probably really did like it, but it didn't cause them to move. It didn't cause a shift. It didn't cause a transformation in any sort of way. I now look, because you're right, they'll forget 90% of what you taught them within 24 hours or less, but they'll remember you and they'll remember how you made them feel. And what new transformation is possible? Like I almost want them to have questions, not like you said, feel full, but like
Thank
questions
you.
like,
good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what do I do next? Or how do you do that? Or if they have questions, now we've caused them to think a little bit. And so how do you gauge it? Like, or what do you tell your clients? Like, how do you know when you've nailed it?
It's a lot easier. Well, first of all, I'll say that what's easier is when you're in person and you come off stage and the reactions kind of come to you and you get, and especially if you make an offer and you know how many you sold. But on the virtual events, virtual workshops, it is going to be, are you getting any questions? But it's also going to be, how many people booked a call, if that's your call to action, right? You're going to see right then and there. One of the things that I encourage my clients to do is to say, when you made the invitation for the call, hey, if you booked your call, let me know in the chat so that I can celebrate you, right? And it's a little bold because a lot of people are like, what if nobody's booking? I don't want to like make myself look like nobody's booking. You got to take that risk because you get that social proof kind of thing going. And like, it's harder to do that in a virtual room than it is in an in-person room. People can see what other people are doing. But so you want to kind of create that. That's your gauge, right? Are people asking questions? Are people booking calls? And are people becoming clients? And the other thing to me really is when people book calls, I ask them at the beginning of that call, what inspired you to book this call? And then I get this like all the things that inspired them about the presentation. I'm like, okay, that's like the direct feedback. I know that worked. And because not only are they now telling me that they loved it, like those other people who didn't want to move forward, these people took action and they're telling me what they loved specifically about it. And so you can kind of see what's working.
So let's say someone's listening in right now and they're going, oh, I'm going to write this presentation. I'm going to, take everything I've done before and I'm going to create this. What would you say are their next steps? And then we'll talk a little bit about how they can connect with you to get some help.
Yeah. So your next step is to make sure that you're clear in your offer and that you are really looking at it from the lens of what's the offer that's going to produce the most revenue for you. And it depends on the setting too. Like I just did multiple in-person talks. And in that particular case, I made a low ticket offer because it was coupled with a call. And that way I generated an ROI from my talks as I would pay in these cases, do a sponsorship speaking gig. So I wanted to recoup on that investment just from the people. And then we have the back end that's coming from the people who do also get a call with me and then join from that. So the first step is though, like, what's the main offer? Because even though I am, let's say, doing a low ticket offer from stage, it's still getting them to want my bigger offer because that's what they're going to move into from the call with me. So we want to look at what's the primary thing you want to sell people into. Ideally, it's something that's going to be of the medium to high ticket level. Okay. If you have a low ticket, that's perfectly fine. You still want to build your talk around whatever that offer is. Okay. So whatever your offer is, then you want to look at what are the three, like if I was to boil down what my offer is, like you generally know about this idea of a signature system. Like what are the 5 steps? What are the 5 modules of your offer? Right. Then we want to look at, okay, if we could boil that down to 3 teaching points that are basically a sum up of that offer. So one of the ways to do it is to say, okay, let's take these 5 or 7 modules and let's ask the question of, if I had to communicate, what are the 3 pillars that this is really shaky? Condense it down to 3. That could be one way that you could create those teaching points. Another way you can do it is you can take one of your modules and go deep inside of that one and come up with the 3 core teaching points inside of that one module. And so either way, whether you do kind of the overview system or you zoom into one piece of it, you want to come up with 3 teaching points that are derived from what you teach in your program so that the presentation is like breadcrumbs leading to that bigger thing. So it's like whether you're making a sell from stage offer or whether you're doing a discovery session invitation on the back end, the whole goal is that there is sort of this open loop and closed loop to a certain degree here. Like you set up and you pay off. So I set up in the teaching points and in my personal story, all these things, like these different things you need to do, or these things I've done, right? Let's say in my teaching points, I cover these 3 things of how to do affiliates. And then in my personal story, I talk about this cool software that I created using AI. That's just was the game changer that moved or whatever. Now in the offer section, you're going to now kind of close those loops. When you work with me in XYZ program, we're going to do loop, close, loop, like these things that you've already now heard about earlier. And by the way, as a bonus, you're getting this software, right? So we set up these things and then we pay them off. So, but the basic thing here is just like, derive 3 teaching points from either your main offer or from one of your pillars in your offer. And then from there, you have the bones of it. Now you need to think of, okay, what's the core story that I need to tell that's not just about me? It's the perfect story that complements this particular offer. So if I'm selling something like I have a product on sales, how to get better at sales, I'm going to not tell the story I told today about how I was, not feeling like authentic. And so I need to trust myself and bring my art into my business. That's a story I tell in my 3-day event because it's the theme of my brand. But if I'm doing a presentation that's on my sales product, I'm going to tell a story about how I was bad at sales and I overcome sales, because that's the thing that person watching is going through now that I've broken through on. And so we want to come up with a story that's relevant to that particular offer. So there's more to it, obviously, but if you at least, have your offer clear, come up with your three teaching points, and define your origin story based on the transformation they need, you come a long way.
That's huge. That would transform a lot of people's presentation, just doing those three things. And I'd say in that order, really starting with being clear about your offer. I love that. So Sean, what's the next step in working with you? Where's the best place to connect with you? I know you're doing talks and workshops and stuff all the time. And then what we'll do is we'll make sure that the links are right beneath this video and in the podcast show notes.
Yeah. So we have a great gift for you today. And also I'm going to share a way to connect with me if you are really inspired by this and you want to just directly have a conversation with me and potentially set a call. But the offer that I want to give you guys for free today is what I call the Fill Your Workshop Blueprint. And this is the exact emails and the exact social media posts and the exact marketing strategies that we use to fill our workshops when we do them. So we host virtual workshops, we host in-person events, and this is how we do it. And there's some really powerful things in here. You're actually getting a swipe file of all the emails that we've used to pull in people from our community. You're getting all the actual posts that we've used. Also, we use joint venture partners. So you're getting the emails that we both use to attract partners, to correspond with partners, and then also an example of the swipe file that we share with them. You're getting how to do stories on Facebook and on Instagram to pull people into your event, and a variety of other like detailed things that like help you fill it. We also give you what's called the Fill the Room Matrix. So you find that you have more people than you're aware of to fill your events, that it shows you how to really look and find people in a very simple spreadsheet concept that we've created that's just incredible. It's really changed the game for people. So we'll show you in this how to get at least 75 or more people to your next event. So that is what you're getting, and it's called the Fill the Room Blueprint. I think you can find the link in somewhere, right? There's somewhere they can find it.
Yeah, it's going to be beneath this video, and if you're listening to this on podcast, just check into the player on your phone there, and we'll have all of Sean's links right there.
Perfect. And for those of you that are just really lit up by this conversation and want to connect with me, I'll just tell you the easiest way is to send me an email at info@rockyourgift.com. It's rock, ROCKYOURGIFT.com, just like it sounds, info@rockyourgift.com. And just shoot me a message and let me know that you heard me from Chuck's podcast so that I know, and I'll make sure to reach back out. Send me any questions. I look forward to it.
Well, Sean, this has been amazing. And before I let you go, I just wanted to ask you there's a question that we've been asking all of our guests, and, because we always say here that, our business only grows to the extent that we do. Even like we've shared some of it here today. I mean, that feeling of being inauthentic or, really growing into, the business that we want. It's been a big personal development journey for me. And so I always ask people here while I have my guests here, if you had a favorite book that you could recommend to our listeners that has been impactful for you, or that you've learned a lot from, or has been huge in the building and transformation of yourself and your business.
Yeah, I'm actually going to share two. I'm going to share one really quick, which is the book Influence by Robert Cialdini. If you haven't read that, for sales mindset and understanding the way human brains work, that's a critical one. And then the second one is this book, Mindset by Carol S. Dweck. This book, I mean, most of us who've been in any personal growth for a while have read a lot of books. And when you see a book called Mindset, you might be like, pass it by because it sounds kind of like ho-hum. But actually, it's one of the greatest books I've ever read. And it really describes the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And the best thing about it is I didn't know the distinction that well. This thing gives you all these examples. But the thing that was really interesting is to realize the growth I still had to do. Like I was like going into this thinking, I've got it all figured out. And I was like, wait a sec, I see where I do the fixed mindset and I see how that happens. And so it's really opened me up to seeing how I can operate with a growth mindset in an even greater way than I thought I was doing. And that is major. And it's also something I brought up to my wife, and how we're, bringing this into the conversation about our kids, because, my son gets upset when he doesn't get something to go the way he wants immediately, and he's operating with a fixed mindset. And I grew up like that too. It's like, why can't I have this thing I want immediately? It's like, well, that isn't how things work. And if you assume things work that way, you're going to be frustrated for the rest of your life. And according to Carol, it actually lowers your IQ to think like that. So pretty powerful book, Mindset by Carol S. Dweck. Highly recommend.
Ditto to all of that. Not only has it made me a better coach and business owner and mentor to my clients, it's made me a better human. It's made me a better parent. We use it with our kids too, to the degree that they'll listen. Teenagers are kind of, right. We could do a whole podcast just on parenting, but you wouldn't get, I love what you said there, because you wouldn't get that just from the title. But don't let the title throw you off. It is, I think, required reading for everyone, for sure. You'll understand so much about yourself, and when you understand more about yourself, you understand more about others. And then what do you, how can you approach things differently with a growth mindset versus the fixed mindset? So, love it. Great recommendation. And with Cialdini, read all Cialdini's books. Just do it. If you sell anything, that should be required reading therefore as well. Sean, this has been amazing, and love everything that you talked about, and I can't wait for to see what other collaborations and things that you and I can do in the future. I know we're very on the same page and helping a lot of the same people, but in different ways, and let's do more of that and keep making that big impact that we're making, and let's see where that goes. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
And to our audience, I want to thank you for your time. And I want this time to really mean something for you. So I want you to think of something that either you heard Sean say, or maybe that you remembered or were triggered by while you were listening to us today. Maybe it's something you've been putting off for a while, or maybe it's something that you really need to take the next step in your business. And if you don't know what that is, maybe it's reach out to Sean. Go and download his free gift. Sounds amazing. All of the emails and the templates and everything. Reach out to Sean. Take some action today. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your business, what obstacles you're facing. You might just be one collaboration away from a big breakthrough. And maybe Sean is that person that you can collaborate with. In the meantime, never, ever, ever give up. The only way to fail is to quit. So keep moving forward, and we'll see you on the next one, everybody. Thank you.